Today marks the second anniversary of Splatoon 2, and while this video is being recorded, also we're having the Final Splatfest to basically determine who's better, Chaos or Order. And with that, Splatoon 2 comes to an end. No more Splatfests, no more patches and updates, apart from update 5 that's gonna come out to release the shifty stations for you to play with your friends. But well, where does Splatoon go from here? Well, that's the question for today's video. So hi, I'm the Legend of the S, and what is next for Splatoon? Now, before we get started with what is actually next for Splatoon, let's go over a brief history of what Splatoon of the history of Splatoon, basically. So back in 2014, which was at E3 2014 I should say, which was 5 years ago. God, that makes me feel kind of old. Splatoon was for the first time announced and revealed at the time when we had one game mode, which was Turf Wars, that was revealed to the public and playable. Later on, we got more unveilments for a story mode and what became Splatfests, but we didn't know, not Splatfests, Splat Zones, but we didn't know that at the time, or, well, did we? Well, it was announced in the direct, so yeah, we did know. I'm just stupid and misremembering things. And then the game came out in May 2015, or late May 2015. It's good to remember that the game came out on the Wii U, which meant that the game did not have a lot of high expectations for it, for sales. Not only that, it was also a game that some people predicted would do terrible, and some people thought that the game, well, should have just been a $20, a quick eShop only title. But, well, Splatoon proved everybody wrong. Within 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, it sold 1.1 million, becoming one of the best sellers on Wii U by the end of its life cycle, selling well over 4 million. And Splatoon 2 was one of the first games revealed for the Nintendo Switch, being a part of the Nintendo Switch reveal trailer in October 2016 and launching, well, 2 years ago on July 21st, 2017. Too much fanfare. Now Splatoon 2 is very close to hitting the 10 million mark, and I wouldn't be shocked if it hit 10 million units sold worldwide by the end of the year, or the financial year. I wouldn't be shocked. So, with all that going for it, Splatoon has become one of the major franchises for Nintendo. Heck, the main characters for Splatoon, the Inklings, were the first characters to be revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, with them having a CGI trailer of recreating the original Splatoon trailer, battling it out, Inkling Boy versus Inkling Girl, and then Smash. So that should tell you the importance of how big Splatoon was and has become. But as we all now know, Splatoon 2 finally comes to an end in terms of support from Nintendo. So it had a good 2-year run. So what is exactly next? Well, let's first things first, let's get this clear. What's next for Splatoon is pretty obvious in terms of main series games. Splatoon 2 or Splatoon 3 is going to heavily rely on the results of this Splatfest. Obviously, at the time of this recording, Splatfest is still going on, so I don't know the results, so I cannot say who won, but hey, let's go Team Chaos, which I'm playing for, as you can see on screen right now. Now, obviously, whomever wins this is going to determine who will be the what the story mode is going to be for Splatoon 3. We have this with Splatoon 2. Splatoon 1's Final Splatfest was a battle between Callie and Marie, the Squid Sisters, who was the more popular. And the Squid Sister that lost was going to be kidnapped by the Octolings and saved at the end. Now, obviously, the time period between Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1 and 2 would be very different from Splatoon 2 to 3. For Splatoon 2, the story mode didn't really heavily rely on the Squid Sisters. Yes, you were looking for one of them, but it was, for all intents and purposes, the easiest part of the story mode for them to implement while having it in the Splatfest. It was basically a character model swap and some text being changed. Now sure, that still takes a whole lot of work, but in the end, it's still not very easy. It was gonna be the easiest thing about the story mode. With Splatoon 3, we don't have that. That's why Nogami-san, I forget how to pronounce his name correctly, announced very recently that Splatoon 3 is not in development, which it isn't. Splatoon 3 is not a game that's going to come out in 2020, like some people believed. I first thought it was a reset era only thing, but then when the video for Game Explain explaining that the game was not coming in 2020 and was not in development, people were shocked. Well, here's the thing, Splatoon 3 was never going to be coming out on the Switch, and in my opinion, it makes perfect sense to hold the game till 2022, 2023, depending on when the next system comes out, which would be my guess of 2022, 2023, to be honest. Late 2022, early 2023. So Splatoon 3 was, in my opinion, never going to come out for the Switch. I don't know why people thought about that. Splatoon always seemed to me like the perfect next big online multiplayer game for Nintendo, like Smash and Mario Kart, one per console, or as it will be now, one per generation. People I think were misguided by the fact that Zelda and Mario get sequels from time to time on the same system. The problem is though that those are single player experiences, not multiplayer ones, and they heavily reuse the engine. Another thing that led people probably were misled to believe that Splatoon 3 was going to come out anytime soon was the time period between Splatoon 1 and 2, where people thought, well, Splatoon 1 and 2, the difference is a year and a half, well, 2 years to be fair. So maybe Splatoon 3 and 2 and 3 will be the same, forgetting about the fact that Super Smash Bros. 64 came out in 99, Melee came out in 2001, so a 2-year difference, basically, with Melee having a 13-month development time, and then Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out a whopping 7 years later. So I wouldn't be too much on the it's gonna happen anytime soon, just because the 1-year development time. Something that I saw people think that's going to happen is that Splatoon 3 needs to happen, because then Splatoon will be an irrelevant franchise and die after 6 years, which I heavily disagree. If they go 6 to 7 years without a game, why? We've had time and time again proof that that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. For example, Pikmin. Pikmin went from 2004 to 2013, if I'm not mistaken, without a brand new game, and Pikmin 3 still sold as well as the other ones. Metroid is another great example. Between Super Metroid and Metroid Prime, there was an 8-year gap with no new games, and Metroid Prime was one of the best-selling Metroid games ever. Heck, there was a similar period of time with a bunch of Metroid games from Prime to Other M, and really the franchise kept being there and it never reached the heights that some people think it should. Same thing with F-Zero, Star Fox Zero, or Star Fox as well. A franchise going away for a while doesn't mean it's gonna die and lose relevancy, because people are not just gonna forget about Splatoon. So what is in fact next for the Splatoon IP? Well, for story again we have that pretty clear, but for the IP, outside of a few crossovers I could see, like being in Smash and maybe some other crossovers, I think spin-offs, which would be the crossovers, I'm a little bit in Infinity there, is probably what's going to happen for the next 2 to 3 years. I could definitely see a Splatoon RPG, for example, coming out next year. A crossover that would be fun to see would be give Splatoon to the people at Ubisoft Milan and allow them to create their own SRPG. Make a Splatoon game like the Mario and Rabbids. Now sure, you could say, but couldn't they easily make a Mario and Rabbids 2? Yes, they could. Once again, I think that there are games like you don't need to repeat it and make it immediately. I would prefer them take their time with the next Mario and Rabbids, maybe even save it for the next system, or better yet, kinda not make a 3, because there was, I mean, and again I was gonna say there is no reason to make a second one already. There's not a story purpose, but then again there was not really a story purpose in the first one, but still it would feel kind of, and I don't know, I'm weird about this sometimes, but I would like to see a Splatoon maybe SRPG developed by, or real-time, I should say, real-time SRPG developed by the team at Ubisoft Milan. Maybe we could see an actual just traditional RPG made, I don't know, I actually don't know who could make it, but it would be interesting to see. We could also see, I was going to say, a Splatoon racing game, which would be a fun game mode. I think I've said this before, like a game mode in Splatoon where you just shoot the ink like you do in regular Splatoon, but then like you cover the map to be faster than your opponents in doing just a racing game with the Splatoon tactics, I think, or even just a game mode. I think that would be interesting. Maybe Splatoon will show up in other Nintendo franchises. We have Mario Kart, where they showed up, and I think like there should be a little bit more crossover with other games from like the Mario Versus series or something. Like we have Mario Sports and Mario Tennis and Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. I don't know why I said Mario Versus. I think we should include like more Zelda, more Pikmin, more Kirby, like just allow the franchises to show up. And yeah, it's fun when we see them basically in isolation in Smash, but little bits and pieces here and there would be a hell of a lot of fun, in my opinion. So anyway, that's just one man's ramblings about what Splatoon's future looks like. I would like to know what you think about where Splatoon goes from here. Do you expect Splatoon 3 to come sooner rather than later? Or do you expect it to come on the next system? Do you expect the next Splatoon game to actually be a spin-off? And what spin-off would you like to see? Or would you like to see Splatoon crossover with somebody? And if so, who and why? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I've been the Legend of the S. I'll see you guys next time.